To be fit, you need good food along with proper workouts. But nutrition is a tough nut to crack, especially if you are a beginner. Now on Instagram, I keep getting questions like, why am I unable to lose weight even though I am on a calorie deficit diet? Or why am I unable to gain muscle even though I have been doing strength session and I have also been taking protein post-workout? So to answer all these questions and to talk about why most diets fail, we have with us today nutritionist Kripa Jalan, who is currently a MPH student at Harvard University, and she's also the founder of a mind-body nutrition company called Burgers to Beast. She helps individuals create habits with ease by designing a way of mindful eating that is unique to their bodies and their lives. And she's here today to separate health from havoc. Hey, this is Ritika and welcome to my channel Life with Coach Ritika. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that every time I upload a video, you get a notification. Alright guys, let's jump straight into it. So question number one is, I want to eat right to be fit and healthy, but there are so many diets out there. Which one should I choose?
So I think depending on who you ask, you're going to get a really different opinion. Some people say paleo is the best, some will say keto is the best, some will say going vegan is the best option. But I strongly believe that the best diet is the one that you can follow without losing your mind. If you were just to define the diet by taking away all the emotion from the term, it's just the food and the food habits that surround a person. But in our mainstream society, we automatically associate it with slimness and with weight loss. But it really doesn't have much to do with it. Now, don't get me wrong, I think diets can be really beneficial in some cases when you're trying to work on a disease, but with most people it can be really problematic with regard to their emotional health, because essentially you wake up excited to try a new diet, you are excited, so you manage to deprive yourself. A few days in, you reward yourself with a piece of chocolate. That piece of chocolate turns into a bar, and before you know it, you go back to your old eating ways, only to begin the next best diet. But through this process, you're constantly thinking, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, and so on and so forth. So I think better than a diet is just to follow the basics of healthy eating, because that's what you can sustain in the long term without having food rules. So I think plenty of vegetables, different colored ones because they give you different nutrients, moderate amounts of fruits, low sugar, low processed food, low refined carbohydrates. I think protein is a gold standard of every diet, but at the same time, you don't need copious amounts of it to function well. And I think most importantly, you do need adequate fat, because that's required for your hormones, for your hair, your skin, even your brain function. So I think just a balance of all of this is what you require to sustain a healthy lifestyle in the long term.
Question number two. I am starving myself as well as working out regularly, but why can't I lose weight?
I mean, I know a lot of people think it's just as simple as calories in, calories out. So if you eat less than you burn, you will automatically lose weight. But I think in all of this, the quality of food gets lost, because often we use it as a free pass that I'm only eating 1200 calories, so let me just eat anything under the sun. Yes, you are eating less than your body demands, but you're not getting any nutrition from it. So I think a big mistake we all make is look at food just in terms of calories and not nutrients. I think even with weight loss, there's a number of aspects that come into play, stress resilience, sleep cycles, hormones, your health. I mean, your physical activity, your recovery, they all matter. And your health isn't just one piece of the puzzle. So I strongly believe that when you invest in your health and you feel better, more energetic, you sleep better, your overall quality of life improves, weight loss is a byproduct. Whereas with several diets, we invest in them just for the sake of weight loss, and we lose all this in the bargain. Because I've seen so many people go through these chronic diets where they're barely eating any food. They feel miserable even if they've lost weight. Their energy levels are all over the place. The blood reports are a complete mess. So my only question is, at what cost? Now, just from this point of view, if your body perceives a severe negative energy balance, or it's not getting the nutrients, the essential vitamins and minerals it needs, it goes into this flight or fight mode where it starts thinking, I need to preserve this person, I need to protect this person. And fat is protective in nature. So your body starts clinging onto it, because let's say that there's a famine in your house. Will you throw out all the food from it, or will you stock onto it? Your body starts thinking similarly, and it's like, let me just stock onto this because this person is essentially starving themselves.
Question number 3. I have been drinking protein shakes after my workout but haven't gained any muscle in the past 2 months. What am I doing wrong?
So I think depending on who you ask, chances are you're going to be told that if you want to get healthy, either increase your protein intake, take a bunch of supplements, or cut your carbs. But I think again, we look at food from a very isolated lens. I think we need to look at the whole picture. Let's talk about supplements. They're meant to add value to your diet and not replace it. So I think a big mistake a lot of us make is we eat a bunch of crap or not nutritious food and we use supplements like a band-aid. But it's not addressing the root cause of why you're experiencing any symptoms to begin with, whether it's chronic disease, whether it's the inability to lose weight or the inability to gain muscle. Now further with protein, yes, I could be giving myself 200 grams of protein, but how much is my gut actually digesting and absorbing? How much of it is actually being wasted? I think other reasons people don't gain muscle apart from nutrition and apart from training is the fact that they're chronically stressed, they're not sleeping well enough, and they're not recovering. When you're working out, you're essentially breaking down muscle mass. It's when you're resting and recovering that you start rebuilding it. So if you're not getting the rest that you actually need, your body is in a constant state of catabolism. It's constantly breaking down. So how are you going to build muscle to begin with?
Number 4. I want to lose my body fat but I can't give up on carbs. What do I do?
So I think carbs have gained so much negative press for a number of reasons. Some believe that it causes inflammation, some believe it causes insulin resistance, some even say that it's not as essential as protein or fats. So I think if you're asking me if a low carb, high fat diet can help you lose weight, of course it can. But if you're asking me is it the only way, of course not. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people around the world who function really well on low carb, high fat diets. But what works for someone else may not necessarily work for you. Now here's the thing, carb reduction in the long term can cost us, especially if we're significantly active. Your body does need some amount of carbs, especially post-workout, when it starts to rebuild and repair its own process, all the muscle mass that you've essentially just broken down. So I think when we say cut carbs, it's sort of misleading because when we speak about carbs, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and even lentils fall under the same group as sugar. So I think the type of carb matters, and I don't think everyone needs to give up all carbs to sustain a healthy life. In fact, if you look at every popular diet in the world, I don't think any of them will say don't eat vegetables. So I don't think anyone needs to give up carbs. I feel like they're essential to an extent, but of course, overdoing it, whether it's protein, whether it's fat, whether it's carbohydrates, will not work for anyone.
Number 5. This one is actually a very interesting question. It is, I can't give up on sugar. Can I still be fit?
So I think sugar is one of those things that's utterly devastating, but it's also extremely delicious, which is why we're so addicted to it. The way it works is it hits the pleasure centers in the brain and it gets you hooked, it gets you coming back for more because it gives you temporary happiness. Now, it would be very idealistic to tell everyone never eat sugar. And of course, we don't want to be those horrible people at a 3-year-old niece's or nephew's birthday saying, you know what, I'm not going to eat cake, I'm going to break your heart because I'm on a diet. But the problem with sugar is that it's seeped into practically every food we consume today, whether it's salad dressings, whether it's sauces, or even if it's breads. And this is the stuff we're blindly consuming because let's face it, not all of us read our labels. So over and above this, when we go and add sugar, say to our tea or our coffee or our beverages, it just becomes more problematic because our overall sugar intake for the day shoots up. Now again, we need to keep convenience in mind. Sometimes it's not possible to eliminate all foods that contain sugar, but what we can do is minimize it. Now, if you can't minimize it, perhaps what you can do is temporarily switch to a healthier alternative. So say raw honey, not processed honey. It could be jaggery, which is again more darker and not too yellow because that's less processed. But again, use these very sparingly. It's not a free pass just because they're marginally healthier because essentially they do still act like sugar in the body. I don't believe in artificial sweeteners, particularly aspartame and sucralose and all of those chemicals. But otherwise, what you can perhaps do is stevia because it's made from a plant, or you can even use xylitol. But at the same time, don't go overboard because essentially what you're doing is just sharpening the sugar pleasure centers in the brain, which means that you've not solved the sugar addiction at hand. So if at all, minimize or use these alternatives very, very sparingly.
Alright, so the last and the final question is actually from me. It is, what nutrition advice would you like to give to our viewers?
I think I really appreciate that you use the word nutrition and not diet. Not because I think diets are problematic. I feel like the manner in which we use it or the manner in which we talk about it is where we almost synonymously associate it with weight loss, calorie restrictions, eating less, and just all the emotional baggage that comes with it. I think with nutrition, we focus on nutrients with the essential vitamins and minerals. We look at food as information, we look at food as fuel, and so much more. I really want to tell anyone that's watching that what's at the end of your fork is far more potent a tool than anything that's in a pill bottle. Food is medicine. It can help you prevent disease. It can help you reverse disease to an extent. More than anything, I feel like ditch this diet mentality that I need to eat less to feel better. Very often I feel like people reflect their psychological tendencies through their food, right? Sometimes we don't resort to sugar just because it's there. It's because perhaps we've had a bad day and we're just looking for that hit, for that minute to feel better. Perhaps we've had a fight, perhaps we're really stressed. Perhaps the stress is creating some gut trouble with us. So I think, again, look at your health from a holistic point of view, because you may think that there's so many problems that are interconnected, but the good news is that so are the solutions. And fixing one aspect of your health can have a domino effect on the others. With regard to nutrition, I feel like just stick to the basics of healthy eating because they're sustainable. Of course, this doesn't apply to athletes or people with more chronic illnesses because they may need more targeted advice. But for the general population who just want to maintain a baseline level of health, we don't need to weigh and measure our food. We don't need to take 2,000 supplements. We can just stick to the basics, which is plenty of vegetables, moderate amounts of fruit, lean protein, quality good fats, and minimal amounts of whole grains and moderate amounts of lentils if you tolerate them. But having said all of that, I think a key takeaway is that you can take all the vitamins in the world, you can exercise right, you can eat really well, but up and until you deal with what's going on in your mind, you may still be unhealthy. So I think as a takeaway, I'd say your mental health is just as important, if not more, than your physical health.
I hope we cleared some of the most important doubts about nutrition, and I'm really grateful to Kripa Jalan for making out the time for this. Alright guys, this is the end of the video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, and if you have any questions, comment below and I'm definitely going to get back to you. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more health and fitness content. We'll be back next Sunday.